Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I want to give a small update about some of my bonsai trees and how they have been doing in the last couple of weeks. I want to start with this little Ficus Microcarpa mame bonsai, so a tinified version of a bonsai which I'm trying to create a nice compact apex on top of this very, as you can see, comparatively small tree. The last time I've worked on this tree, I did prune it back quite drastically actually, so there was a lot of structural pruning going on the last time, and I want to show you today as what has the progress been since then. So as you can spot on some of these cutting points, there is new growth coming, so small new leaves forming, small new branches forming. Here one that is right now starting to get the first leaf, here already a new leaf, down here also starting a new leaf. So all on the different branches you can see new leaves, new branches forming, a lot of ramification of course going also on, which is the intended goal behind this tree. So you can see my goal is to really have at least 4 to 5 branches here in the future developing in a strong way, which then ramify nicely and create a very compact and good looking apex on this tree. So what does this future hold for this tree? My goal is, for now, of course, as it is cold season right now, to simply let it grow. I expect that some of this growth will be quite laggy, so that there will be a lot of distance between the leaves and the leaf pairs. So we probably will have to prune that back anyway come spring. And then once new, more compact growth gets in, we will also start to wire it a little bit. So for example, here we have a branch that goes basically simply upwards without any movement. We need to wire this one, for example. Also here in the back we could wire them a little bit just to give them already a position that is more fitting to the intended design. But that of course is something we do then before the growth season, simply to set everything up in a way that then once growth season starts it can then solidify and grow in this direction that we intend to. But other than that, I have repotted it not too long ago when I put it in this pot. It has taken very well to this mixture of mainly inorganic soil in here. It dries out fast enough with this soil. It doesn't stand in water for too long. And overall has been very healthy. You can also see here we had a bigger cut when we repotted it. This one is starting to callus over also in a healthy way, doing nicely. No signs of infection or anything. So overall, a tree I'm quite happy with, quite healthy, and I will keep you updated on it. So let's move on to another tree. And with this tree, actually, I had a bit of a project going on. So I was trying to grow aerial roots on this. It would have been the first time I tried to do this in autumn or in fall. And as you can see, it was not really success, unfortunately. The problem was once the cold season really started to take over, there was not enough heat any longer left or enough warmth around the tree to continue growing the aerial roots. It already had started to grow and they died, unfortunately, before they were able to reach the ground. So what I actually want to do is simply clean up the tree a little bit by taking out those aerial roots that have dried out. You can see they're quite brittle, so it's quite easy to remove them. I will then clean them out of the soil afterwards, but for now I just want to take them off. You can see even some up here that would have grown. But unfortunately, one learning for me is definitely this is not something that does work that well in fall, because you do need the heat and the additional growth. So come spring, I will definitely try again to grow aerial roots on this tree, because I do think it would be beneficial for the overall look. You can see one very strong aerial root we already have on the tree that I find quite nice looking on it. And I want to add to that to make it look like an old banyan basically. But for now, I will just let it grow. Positively, I must mention is that when I had it in this plastic bag, because I used this plastic bag method to grow the aerial roots, it did have a quite beneficial effect on the leaves and on the overall health of the tree. So it was definitely benefiting from being under this plastic bag in its own little microenvironment. And there was a lot of new growth happening and simply healthy looking growth happening. So all in all, not a lost cause, definitely. The aerial roots, what was the main goal? Unfortunately, we did not succeed in that, but come spring, we will try again. And until then, I just leave it the way it is. Maybe I will do some wiring again next year. I do like the overall taper of the main trunk here, but I think especially then the outer branches, maybe the second and third branches, then we should also look into getting more movement in them and working on them. For example, this one here that has grown quite a bit now, we definitely need to wire down, for example. Also shorten it, that we can actually do right away. So I simply would go in here and shorten it a little bit. So that is something we can do today. And in the future then wire it down a little bit here to create a little nice side branch. But for now, I will keep it like this and work more on it in spring then again. So we're already at the last project that I want to give a little update on today. And that is again a ficus tree, in this case a tiger bark ficus, which is normally quite visible by this blotchy bark that you can see here with the light white spots on it. This one has gone through quite a transition already. You can see still here the huge wound of when we took out basically half of the tree, because it didn't have any taper to it. So it's simply at the base of the trunk, it had the same width as all the way up at the top, and it made it simply look very artificial, not very natural, not very fitting for bonsai. So I thought, why not take a more drastic route with this one and cut it here at the half section basically. We had then this new branch developing on it. We kept only this little side branch, so at one point it was basically just this part here. This new branch has formed over the last 1.5 or 2 years, and it is growing thicker and thicker and fitting nicer into the overall potential taper in the future. So in my opinion, what I will do in the future also is probably get rid of this branch here. Either we carve it out a little bit here more to also again make it fit more, or we actually cut it flush here and then really only have this new branch on it. If we look a bit closer at this new branch, you can see the foliage on it is quite healthy. I let this grow as wild as possible. That's also why the leaves are quite big, if you see these ones here in comparison to the leaves on this older branch. But for now, I simply let this grow as wild and as free as possible, because I do want this branch to still thicken, of course, to fit overall better with the taper. I did cut it mid-summer, I would say, and have this way achieved some ramification on the tree. That definitely already is improving the overall look. Before it was just like one tall branch with no ramifying or ramification going on. And now we can see that the ramification is starting to happen here. We can, of course, then work on this also very much in the future and improve the overall look of the tree. Here I can see a that branch I can take out. But for now, again, cold season, of course, I'm not going into too much work on this tree. I do still spot some new growth on it again and again. This is due to the fact that I keep it in a quite sunny spot with quite warm environment actually also, so it does show some growth, but of course it is slowed down quite considerably in comparison to summer. But once spring is around the corner, we will start to work on this a little bit more again. Probably also wire this down a little bit, give it a bit of more movement. Also this new branch now that is still quite malleable, and in the future then really work on this tree. But this is definitely a long-term project. I have been working on this tree now, I would say, for over 1.5, 2 years with quite a lot of changes, and it is definitely still far from being a finished bonsai tree. But that's the joy of this tree, that there's so much to work on it, and as it was such a drastic change, it of course takes time, but I do still have my overall vision for this tree, and I think we can achieve that. And of course, also with this one, I will keep you updated on any further changes in the future. Probably one change will also be a repot. You can see the soil it is in is still not the best one. It is the soil I bought it in, so this typical very compact soil. I already see now that it doesn't hold the moisture that well any longer, so I do think also that simply there's too much root mass already for this soil, and probably a repot is in order. I will try to also reuse this stone here or replace it with another fitting stone, and maybe upgrade the size of the pot a little bit here, probably also come spring. So probably the next step might actually be a repot on this one. Good. I hope that gave you a good idea about 3 of the trees that I have in my collection and what has happened to them in the last couple of weeks. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Until then, goodbye, see you soon.